Hi, I'm Branson from StockPenguins.com, and let me show you how Stock Penguins can help enable and streamline your equity research workflow, allowing you to focus on what truly matters, making investment decisions.
Imagine you are a equity research analyst at a fund or just a retail investor, and you want to do research in a company that you're potentially putting money into. You want to see metrics and data in a easy to read manner so that it's easy to analyze the company. That's what StockPenguins.com does. If you see on top over here, this is under the company financials tab on the left hand side. I've currently typed in Lululemon Athletica, which is a yoga leggings company, for example. And over here, you can see the valuation summary on the left hand side. If you do not know any of these metrics and the definitions, you can hover over and you can basically see the definitions of these metrics right here. All right. You can also oversee the quality of the company. So, for example, if you are more of a retail investor, you just want to understand whether this company is profitable on an annual basis and they're growing their revenues and their profits. We already help you do that. And you can basically see Lululemon is growing and profitable on an annual and quarterly basis as well. Apart from that, there's also data about cash and debt so that you just want to make sure the company you're investing in is not going to go bankrupt, as well as like dividend information as well. In this case here, it's showing 0% because Lululemon does not pay any dividends. If I scroll down here, you might also want to see comparative companies. So if you're an equity analyst, you understand like you need to do comps over various companies in a specific industry. So Lululemon is very similar to Gap, which is a clothing company, Urban Outfitters, Abercrombie and Fitch. Foot Locker sells shoes basically, and then you can basically compare them to the company as well. Below that, we provide very easy, very simple charts that you can basically use anywhere from price, market cap, revenue versus net income, expenses. As I scroll down, there's also different metrics about valuation metrics, EPS, price to earnings, price to sales, price to book ratio, and stuff like that. If you want to see the charts in depth, you can also press this button where it expands out the charts. If you also want to see these charts in a longer time horizon, you can come in over here on the right hand side and you can change it to the 5-year chart, right? You can also change it to, for example, the 10-year chart. All right. And you can see Lululemon over here has been growing revenue consistently every single year for the past 10 years. You can clearly see some of the spikes here. This is probably because people buy more leggings during the Christmas time. Yeah. All right. So you can clearly see the data is presented very nicely and it's a very easy to see manner as well. If you don't like the bar chart, you can also change it to a line chart over here. You can change it to an area chart as well. So on and so forth. If you don't want to see data on a quarterly basis, you can also see it on an annual basis by pressing this annual button on the left hand side over here, and the data will be presented on a yearly basis as well. On the live tab right here, you will see the stock price. So when the market opens, this will actually show market has opened, and then you can see the stock price in real time. Also, there is a market cap over here, which you can track market cap with the price at the same time. So this is basically the default view. If I change the view, and I do want to see more in-depth information about the company, Lululemon over here, you can see there's the description, who is the CEO, trading information, and some key financial metrics as well. And similar to the previous view, there's similar companies. If I want to plot the actual financials, so I am legitimately concerned. If I am concerned about the business, I can also come into the company's financials tab right here, and then I can go into the balance sheet right here. So for example, if I'm worried about total assets, and then I'm also worried about the inventory, right? And I want to plot a graph based on this. I can see the inventory is quite consistent, which generally means that the leggings that they are buying, for example, they're actually selling a lot of it, right? They're consistently going down, means that inventory is going down, means they're clearing the stock consistently. Yeah. While the total assets is also increasing at the same time. So you can basically take any line item in any of the financial statements and you can plot it out so you can visually see what the trend is, right? You can also visually see it, and I can change it to the 10-year. And you just want to look for patterns. You can go into the cash flow tab right here, for example. You can do this for any single financial statement you want. I want to look at the operating cash flow. over the past few years, and I'm going to look at the net income as well. What I'm trying to look for is I'm trying to look for trends just to make sure whatever thesis I have of researching and investing into the company is true. And I also can change the charts for this. So right now I'm looking at the 5-year chart. I want to look at the 10-year chart, and I can try to see or plot some trend that is happening. But overall, over the 10-year, there's an increasing trend of the operating cash flow is increasing while the net income is increasing at the same time. Yeah. If I don't like the bar chart, I can also change it to a line chart, and I'm able to plot this information as well. If you want to export this into a JPEG, an image, if you want to put it into your PowerPoint, for example, you can just press the export chart button, and I'm going to change the background color to black, and I'm just going to press download. You can see I've basically downloaded this chart over here, and I can put this in a PowerPoint document or just send it to a friend, for example. Moving on, I'm going to move on to dividends and splits. In this case here, you can see Lululemon does not have any, they do not pay any dividends. So there's nothing, no information here. But for a stock split, for example, they have split in 2011 one time. For the earnings call, for Lululemon, they are on a different fiscal period. That's why it's not Q2 2025. Right now it's Q4 2024. The entire earning transcript is basically here. And if you want to search something very specific, for example, you can just press, for example, Command F. You can click in China. And anytime they have mentioned China, you can basically take note of that. We are going to come out with future product features that include a summary of this information, so that instead of just Command Fing, we're also going to give you a summary of everything that's happening on the earnings call. Besides that, there is a revenue segment right here. And you can see, for example, Lululemon's business is quite diversified. They have a women's range and a men's range. And I can see that the men's range, for example, is growing significantly faster than the women's collection, right? It's growing at 13% versus 9%. So it just goes to show like there's still room for growth for this company, right? I can put it as a bar chart. I can put it as a pie graph as well. And I can basically compare how big or how small each segment basically contributes. I can move on to geographical segments, and I'm going to put it into a pie chart. And you can see that US still dominates majority of the revenue right here at 53%, while China is growing at 24%. So China is becoming quite seizable a business for the Lululemon business, as well as Canada, and then Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Macau are still very, very small over here. Besides that, if you want to plot out the key ratios, if you care about these things as an analyst, then we have stuff for ratios as well. So for example, you want to plot out current ratio and cash ratio, you can do that. So it's very similar to the financials tab over here. Lastly, there are historical earnings. So for every quarter, every public company needs to report their earnings. In this case here, I'm going to change it to the 3-year. And you can see consistently, this company, Lululemon, is a very consistent performer. Every single quarter, they manage to beat their earnings. And you can see what the actual beat is and the estimated that they gave. All right. If you see green here, you can see the legend on the left-hand side over here. This is beat, and then there's a miss, and then there's a match or just meet expectation, right? We can see this for the EPS chart as well as the revenue chart, right? So revenue, sometimes they do miss, but in terms of earnings, they actually beat every single time, okay? So you can do this on a 10-year, on a max, etc. It's really dependent on you. And lastly, over here for the historical earnings tab, we actually tell you when the earnings are coming up. And so the next earnings that are coming up are 30 days from now, on June 4th, 2025. And that will be their Q2 2024 quarter. Yeah.
If you want to find out how the top companies in the US are performing, you can use the top companies list built up by StockPenguins to quickly do so. For instance, we have compiled a list of the top 500 companies in the US by various metrics. So market cap, net income, so the company with the highest net income will be at the top of the list. PE ratio, the companies with the highest PE ratio will be ranked accordingly, and your price to book and your price to sale. So by default, it would be ranked highest at the top, but you can use the sorting feature here to rank it by descending and ascending. And not only that, if you scroll further to the right, there are pricing performance on different time horizons where you can use to quickly tell which company is gaining momentum and which is losing momentum, and you can further deep dive into later on. Not just that, we have built out a currency filter as well. So as you know, not all companies listed in the US report their earnings in USD. So for example, if I would come over here and I select the Japanese yen, it should show only the companies that report their currencies in the Japanese yen. And yeah, you can use this to find out. If you can go into euros as well, you see companies that report their earnings in the euro. And if your company catches your eye, simply just click onto it and it will relink you to the company's financial page where you can deep dive further for your research. If you're looking for the next investment to pitch to your portfolio manager, or you're just a retail investor looking for your next stock idea to invest in, one way to do it, besides having combing through news and whatever ideas your friends may just give you, right? One way to do it is by using a stock screener, where you can screen for a list of stocks with financial metrics and valuation metrics that meet your criteria. So, for instance, if I am a investor in a tech-centric fund that are looking for undervalued but yet growing companies, right? I can use the stock screener metric to list out what I want, and it will give me a list of stocks based on my criteria. So, for example, I'm looking for a tech company that is performing well, right? So, in this case, a tech company is performing well with pricing modes will probably have strong gross margins, and I want it to be trading below its historical average because I am a value investor. But at the same time, I want it to be profitable, so I'm gonna see it growing with positive net income. Revenue growth, also positive as well. I want to see growth. Strong operating margins, in this case, just make it positive. And average revenue growth for the past 5 years, positive as well. But if I'm a bit more selective on how profitable the company is, right? Again, I can go to the net profit margin criteria and just, put it over 30%. And then apply these filters, and I will get a list of stocks accordingly that I can deep dive further into using the company's financial tool. So if I like this matrix and I want to save it for future use case, I can again just click Save Presets over here, name it as a Value Growth Tag. Save it. At the next time I want to use the same matrix, right? I can just select it as such and apply it. So every quarter, a company would report its earnings in the form of releasing its financial statements for prospective investors and current investors to know what's happening with the company. So as an investor, a prudent and diligent one, you should keep track of a company that you're invested in or you're looking to invest in, how it's performing when during earnings. So one tool that we have built out for you is the earnings calendar tool, where you can look at the companies that are reporting for the week and the estimated EPS, estimated revenue, and etc. And when the company actually reports its earnings, right, you can also see how it performed in terms of beating it, how much did they beat it by, etc. So in our calendars list, you can just search for a symbol that you want. So for example, last week, Amazon reported earnings. Search for Amazon, click it up, and you can see from top to bottom when is the next earnings being reported, and also its historical earnings performance. So in the 1 year, 3 year, 5 and 10 years, and even max. What you can see is if it's green, right, as per the legend, it's a beat. So Amazon reported earnings that EPS that beat revenue, analyst estimates for both revenue and earnings per share in the latest earnings report. So if you look, this is good because you can see how consistent management is in delivering performance, and you as an investor will want to invest in companies that consistently beats estimates, and this shows a very capable management. So this earnings tool, calendar tool, will let you know and identify that. And not only that, right, you can also look at what company is reporting next week, further up, things like that. So it will help give you a sense of and keep track of earnings performance for your invested companies and companies that you are looking to invest in. So if you're an investor looking to compare one company that you're interested in against a similar company in the industry to which one you want to invest in, right? You quickly use the company comparison tool that we have built out in Stock Penguins. So, for example, company one, I've searched out AMD. And if I scroll further down, I can look at the similar companies list that AMD is competing in the semiconductors industry. So, for example, NVIDIA, right? I can input it over here in the company two tab, input NVIDIA, and it's already loaded. So, yep. I can compare directly the financial matrix of both companies. So what the detail presents here is exactly the same as the company's financial tab. It gives you a quick snapshot of how a company is performing in terms of its valuation, its financial metrics. So you look at things like whether the company is still growing quarterly basis, annual basis, whether it's profitable, its cash to debt ratio, and whether it pays out dividends and things like that. It gives you a very quick snapshot of how both companies are performing. And if you scroll further down, you can look at charts of both of these companies in the quarterly, annual format, and for three different time horizons from 1 year ranging all the way to 10, and even since the company's founding. So over here, the good thing is you can look visually and quickly how a company is trending in terms of its underlying performance. So for example, revenue, you can quickly tell that AMD is actually not growing as consistently and as quickly as NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is just a straight line up, but you can see for AMD, it's still a bit here and there going down, but still going up. Total expense history, its gross margins, how strong it is. So you can see NVIDIA is a lot more stronger than AMD. So this suggests pricing power, right? Net income history, you can see again, NVIDIA is going up, trending very strongly, while AMD is a bit volatile, inconsistent. Not just that, but we have details about cash flow, operating cash flow, cash versus debt, your valuation matrix as well as summary, your dividend history. Yep. So from here, the key goal is to allow you to quickly compare between two companies, uh, for you to deep dive further and to strike a competitor off your list.
Finally, we have the AI chat feature. So the AI chat feature is very convenient if you want to ask AI about any specific financial questions, especially if there's anything related to a specific company or metrics. All right. Over here, there is a difference between the speed and the deep research tab. So if you want a very deep response where the AI will go and find 3 to 5 sources and give you a more detailed explanation, you can select deep research over here. If you want a more snappy response, we have an AI model that runs a bit faster. So it gives you shorter, but also it runs a bit faster. First of all, I'm just going to go into the deep research tab. I'm going to ask the AI something very specific about advertising. So I do know Facebook is a advertising company. I'm going to ask, can I ask you if Facebook or Meta revenue has been affected by the rise of TikTok? How are the growth rates in the past quarters? And how are the net margins on the advertising business? So you can see I can be very specific about my query. I'm asking specifically about the growth rates in a specific time period, and I'm asking about net margins on the advertising business. So Facebook makes money on some Oculus goggles and stuff. I don't really care about their business. Majority of their money comes from advertising. So I want to know, based on a competitor, how is it being affected? All right, so I'm just going to press this right here. I'm going to let the AI chat do its thing. So it will take some time to actually process your data because it has to check with various sources and try to give you as much a balanced view and opinion as much as possible. All right. So, yeah. So you can see here, the chat is producing a bunch of revenue growth trends that I've asked for. It's also given me how the revenue has grown so far, the profitability, and it also analyzes TikTok and its rise. All right. And it also gives me a graph of actual revenue and stuff like that. So you can see very much we try to give a very balanced view of your question. And whenever you ask questions, whenever you do prompts, right, you should try to be as specific as possible. What are you trying to achieve? What information are you trying to look for? Yeah. Okay. So you can see here the revenue growth trends. Year-on-year growth, for example, is negative, but this is expected because in the advertising business, most of the time in Christmas time, the advertising revenue is larger. So it's no surprise that the revenue is lower in Q1 over here. Okay. Despite TikTok's competition, Meta has shown resilience in revenue generation. So it directly answers my question that I've asked about TikTok. All right. The company also saw strong growth, so that's good. Growth rates are volatile. So the reason why it's volatile is because you can see like from Q4 to Q1, it's decreasing. But from Q1 to Q2, Q2 to Q3, everything has been increasing so far. In terms of profitability, net margins have actually improved, and analysis of TikTok as a competition. Yep. And then furthermore, it does give recommendations as well. All right. At the bottom, you can see I've asked about net income and stuff like that. What you can do in the graph here is you can basically change it to net income, and then you can see and plot it out for yourself. How is the net income? How has it been performing over the past few years or so? All right. So this is an example of one of the prompts that you can use.
So what you've seen is how Stock Penguins can help enable your equity research workflow, making your life less laborious, saving time and effort. But we're not stopping here. We have more features in the pipeline, so do give Stock Penguins a try and let us know what you want to see next.